Welcome to the Barker Podcast Collection.
I suck, you suck, I suck at Call of Duty.
Welcome to the Not Playing Podcast. My name's Rob Howard, and today I'm joined by
Marcus Hurley.
And
Well,
okay, I'll start because I've got a game.
because you're
that is
desperate
quite
to talk
new.
about this.
Well, I'm not massively, because I'm not massively blown away with it. But yeah, I played the medium, and I've not quite finished it. I was gonna give it a go last night, but I felt Half-Life Alyx calling. So yeah, but I played the medium. Medium is, as we discussed on our last episode, Marcus was quite excited about this game, and I pointed out that by the time that episode came out, it would be out, and it was. So, but yeah, it came to Microsoft Game Pass on the 28th of Jan, and this is by Bloober Team, and I thought, yeah, for £8, it's like an 8 to 10 hour game, I'll give that a go. I know I'm in the middle of loads of other big stuff, but I just thought I'd have a break. And yeah, so this is a Polish game, and it's very Polish, and it takes place in Poland, I do believe. And you play Marianne, who is a medium, and it's very much like the old Resident Evil games, where you've got like a fixed camera.
Okay.
It does move sometimes, but it is almost like tank controls. You know, you press forwards, go off the screen, and then you kind of got to press sideways because the perspective's changed.
Oh, really?
So it's very much like an old school Resident Evil game. But there's no combat in it.
My hunch but that will also share with Silent Hill, which I got the vibe that this was going for that sort of feel. So it's a very similar thing, and Silent Hill doesn't really have combat. You've got to run.
That's a bit of a...
Yeah, no, I mean, it sounds like that's sort of the vibe they're going for, because Silent Hill didn't have any combat.
Yeah.
But...
No, you're not. The gimmick in this game is that you can... at various points in the game, you sort of travel between the real world and the spirit world. And, you know, there'll be like a crumbling staircase in the real world, but in the spirit world, you might be able to get through there. But sometimes you have to go into like an out-of-body experience that gives you that you only have a certain amount of time to get as far as you can to figure out where you've got to go, open a portal, and you'll have like obstacles like bats and things that you have to like raise a shield up to get through. But it's a very directed experience. And when I say that, I mean to a fault. So you may know what you need to do and how to get there. But if you don't click on every fucking thing in the right order, then it won't the game will not progress.
Okay.
So looks pretty, not very satisfying to play, right?
It feels a little on rails at times, and I do feel like I am for ages. I mean, there's a run button, and my God, if you don't have that trigger pulled down to run the whole fucking way through it, I don't know what you're like. But yeah, it's and that does kind of lose the game some of its tension. Yeah, I might say. Also, another reason I wanted to play this is because it's probably one of the only games coming out for a bit that actually goes 4K, ray tracing, the whole shebang. But when you are running it at that level, there are times where it's just clearly not been optimized. Because, like, you know, it runs like butter, and then you'll go to a thing to interact with it, and then it will just, like, the frames per second will just tank.
Jeez.
Obviously, I know.
And this is on your fairly healthy gaming rig, though, right?
Yeah, I know it's not as good as yours. You'll probably have totally different experience.
I wasn't going to point out that I have a slightly better rig than yours, but
I don't think that would matter, though.
I'm already there. I was already before I thought about what I was going to say about this game. I was already ready for that.
I don't think that would make much of a difference, though, because when the FPS drops off that much, having a bit more horsepower doesn't do it, because it sounds like a game engine problem, which
sounds like a game issue,
yeah.
Which can't be fixed by Will's slightly more significantly better PC than yours, Rob.
No, I dare say if you're just playing this at like 1080p, at medium detail,
I must admit, if you drop the
whatever,
settings, you're not going to experience any dips, right? You're playing at absolute max, aren't you?
Maybe that's the irony.
Well, yeah, of course I am.
Maybe that's the irony. You've got to play medium at medium.
It's like I've just got this bleeding edge rig.
Oh, sorry,
and I want to play
that took me a
the
moment, Marcus, but yes, I got there.
Yeah, sorry, I'm probably just too into what I'm thinking, but no, it's just like it's like I'm playing. I find it funny how like these games, like they can't have. It's like the technology. It's like the games aren't keeping up with the tech, are they? Sort of thing.
Well, you could argue that the games are being ambitious. If you've got it at maximum settings and your machine is basically about the best out there and it can't handle maximum settings, maybe they're just being optimistic about what's going to be out there when people are playing this amazing game in 5 years' time. I doubt it, though.
It often is to how the game engine and the game logic works, because I was watching something where someone was, after unboxing their PlayStation, they were playing a lot of older games, and some of the games you can crank up and you can mod to increase their FPS, but there's something in the game logic, how it works, that just breaks. So some games, unless they're left open and they're uncapped, if you've got a better PC or a better rig or a better system, the FPS would jump up accordingly. But if the game engine itself is capped, as in the logic and the way it was built and everything, it doesn't matter how much more power you throw at it, it's still going to be a Skoda from 1982 as opposed to an Octavia.
There was a bit in this game where I literally had to.
Sorry.
There was a moment in this game where I literally had to turn everything down to low to stop it crashing.
Wow.
Like fully booted out, sort of thing. So, yeah, there's definitely a bit of optimisation that needs to be done there, and it has been patched since I've played it. Yeah. But yeah, no, it does have all the bells and whistles. It's probably just because it's chucking around those really high res textures.
So bollocks for the slowdown. Is it a good game?
It's a good story, I think. I haven't got to the end of it yet, but it's definitely it's quite original, I'd say, and the mechanics are interesting. But I would say, look, put it this way. If you've got Game Pass, then
give it a
fucking
crack.
Just stick it on and give it a go.
Yep.
Yeah.
In fact, even if you don't have Game Pass and you've got an Xbox Series X or a decent enough or a fairly decent PC, fucking get Game Pass for £8 and give it a go. But don't go and pay fucking 50 quid for it.
No.
Definitely not.
Well, that leads me nicely on, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Onto a game that's on Game Pass, which is just as well, because I paid full price for it the day it came out. And subsequently gave it to my nephew because I was so utterly disappointed with it. I played it for a few hours on the day it came out. I played it for a few hours after they put a controversial patch out a while after. But actually, I've played it for quite a lot of hours recently. I've been playing Fallout 76. Now, I'm a Bethesda fanboy, or I'm less of a Bethesda fanboy than I was. But I thought I'd give it one last go with my beautiful, meaty, slightly more powerful than thou gaming machine. I downloaded, using Game Pass, because it's free on there, Fallout 76. And actually, I was not disappointed by the graphics any more than I was on the day when I received them. The graphics are essentially atrocious. They're not bad, but they're just late PS3, early PS4. They are
It's just kind of Fallout
Skyrim
junk.
level quality. Yeah, I mean, I will literally get ghouls coming at me, moving just in a straight line but sideways on, and you'll see a spark come out their gun and it will shoot at me despite the gun pointing elsewhere. There's all sorts of horrible jank and bugginess. All of the things
Sounds like Cyberpunk.
all of the things that annoyed and upset me the first time I played it are still there pretty much. I mean, I've shot NPC enemies in the head, and randomly they've just flown at incredible speed, 300 paces to the right. I've gotten enemies caught up in walls. The graphics are shit. The same songs, probably a list of 20, play on the Appalachia radio, but you can turn that off. You can switch to other radio stations. The classical one is lovely. It's full of problems, and yet, God, I've really enjoyed myself. I think I've spent maybe 25 hours in there since I picked it up a week or two ago. I've discovered the beauty underneath the beast, I would say. I've suddenly realised what they were trying to do when I was looking for all of the enhancements. They've just done another Fallout game. I've met a couple of players who are online. I've happened to sometimes just stumbled across them, and you just throw an emote that's a wave. I have not, and fucked off, carried on with what I'm doing. I haven't tried to interact with anyone yet. I'm not really at the level, but as you get up in the levels, these quests start to appear where you can join up and do things. But I've just realised this is a game where you wander around, follow the missions, and now there are people in the world. It doesn't feel like this totally empty world. There are NPCs who you can interact with. You will randomly wander up this mountain, find this empty, dead ski resort, and find there are some settlers there trying to do some stuff. You'll find traders, you'll find things which wasn't in the original game. And I'm actually starting to see the beauty in this game in the nicest possible way. I'm starting to see that it's another Fallout game. You've emerged from the vault and you're seeing the buds of life, which was missing the first time. It was so utterly desolate when everyone was dead except for other players playing the game. But this feels a little more fleshed out, a little more thought out, and there's an entirely separate quest line which can be treated as a main quest line from the Wastelanders expansion that introduced people to this part of the world. And I'm actually having a lovely time. The crafting thing, which annoyed me in Fallout 4, has been refined. I've got my base, I've got my home camp, which I've set up, and I've got the machine gun turrets defending it, and I've got the crops I'm growing to help me make the stuff that I need to craft to upgrade my weapons and all of that. But I'm like I think I've just hit level 24, and because you can have like other players on the same map, and I wandered into some level 11 million bloke's crafted place, and he had a mansion compared to my garden shed, and it's fascinating wandering through. But yeah, I'm having a lovely time in Fallout 76, and I never expected to say that out loud. There we go. And it's free on Game Pass, and dirt cheap on most other formats.
Well, I think
it does try and make you pay. It does try and make you buy stuff.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say, because I like Fallout, and I loved Fallout 3, and I loved Fallout New Vegas even more.
Oh, New Vegas was the best.
I don't think Fallout 4 really recaptured it for me.
I'd agree.
And when this came out, I just thought it was like a bit of a laughing stock, so I've just kind of deleted it from my brain.
I would say go with that. To be honest, I think I'm in a little mind. So what Fallout 76 has done for me is push me back into that nostalgia from Fallout 3, New Vegas 76. Put me back into a world I'm really comfortable in this shitty time.
The apocalypse.
Yeah, it's put me in the apocalypse I want to be in, right? And given me all of these things I can craft and a way to take out the super mutant variants. It's my happy path.
Yeah,
I'm having a lovely time.
Is Is it just because you prefer the music in that to Cyberpunk?
I do hugely prefer the music in Fallout to Cyberpunk, to be fair, Rob.
Because one of your first comments about Cyberpunk was like...
It's just fucking noise.
It's just Fallout, but yeah, no, it is a bit too like...
Yeah, it's basically the sound of various items being sawn.
Yeah, no, it does have... I suppose, yeah, because this is the battleground on which I sort of have this argument with you. Really, is it's like why? Because yeah, Cyberpunk, I guess, is that to me because I was so invested in that coming out, and now it's come out. I'm sort of like, yeah, well, they'll patch it.
I'll go back to Cyberpunk when it's ready. To be honest,
these are both your No Man's Skies. That's what it is.
Admit, yeah. Thing is, if you're absolutely right there, Marcus. And
there
I've
are
gone back to
games that
Fallout
we know
76.
they can achieve. Yeah.
Christ, when was Fallout 76 out? 3 years ago? It's all blurs into
last
one.
3, isn't it?
2.5, 3 years.
Yeah.
But their hills will die on, aren't they?
Better.
They're games that we believe in so much that even if they are a bit shit, like we'll find the fun.
I should have given up on it. I've given it another go, and it's not the best game in the world. And I appreciate the graphics are janky and the movements there. But I was randomly doing the main. Well, I was doing the main quest. Randomly came across this story. Activated a side quest. I found a log on a machine, and it told me to go and find this water park that I needed to go to anyway. And it said, talk to this person in the water park. And I went there, and it was this robot, and she was a nanny robot. And we're talking like we're 200 years after the apocalypse. And she said, I'm trying to find my Freddy. Now, I have an emotional tug from that anyway, because my boy is called Freddy. And it turned out she was the robot nanny to this little boy called Freddy. And she said, can you help me find him? He's tracker beacon that helped me know where he is at all times has been removed. I said, how long is it? Oh, it's been 200 years. Okay, I will give you a hand. And so you go through and you find, and so you start going through and you're finding the audio logs for this mission, and you understand that Freddy has been taken to this building by his uncle, because actually some stuff had already been investigating at a nearby village. I found out that Freddy was the son of the local factory owner, who was an absolute arsehole, who had been essentially ignoring health and safety laws to the point where all of his staff were in horrible place. And it turned out his step-brother-in-law had kidnapped Freddy and all of this stuff. And then you found Freddy's little diary logs as he tried to escape, and he's been a little cheeky scamp and all of this stuff. And you've got these engaging stories that you're investigating and going through. This isn't just Rust or whatever these online survival games are. They're stories from the classic Bethesda, Elder Scrolls, Fallout guys are there in the side quests. I'm not seeing another person. This is just another Fallout game. And I've suddenly found that. Sounds like they fixed it.
Sounds like they fixed it.
It's good. Also, I got a really cool submachine gun for completing the quest that sets people on fire when I shoot them.
Nice.
Yes.
It's always good.
Yes.
Okay, Marcus. So, Marcus, what have you been playing then? You finally got back to Final Fantasy, didn't you?
Yeah, I have. I feel victorious. I've not finished the game, but I have finally defeated a boss that has been kicking my ass for the better part of most weeks. I'm fighting something. Well, basically, it's kind of weird. Every time I talk about this game, I keep thinking it's really nice, it's really cool, but the original had some really weird enemies. Like, you know, there's one part where you go in the sewer and you're fighting some weird mutant creature that causes tidal waves. You've got these floating jellyfish eye creatures, and you kind of think there's no way in hell they would have brought back those enemies to something that looks slightly more realistic than it did in 1997. You know, the sort of Dragon Quest-esque sort of weird enemies and stuff like that. But yeah, there's an enemy called a Hell House, which is literally a house. And it's kind of like something's taken over it. And you can see like there's something in it. And it was something that turned up in like a certain part of the game, and you could steal items from it. And they've managed to rework it so that you go to this place called Wall Market, and essentially it's run by the Yakuza, or their equivalent. So you've got all of these thugs,
Oh.
and you've got the Don who runs the whole sort of essentially entertainment district there. And I've been in this tournament where, we're trying to find a friend of ours, and there are some really comically written parts. There's a part where you turn up there, and it's kind of like the guy, I think I said in the last podcast, where these guys are going, "Hey, you brush up quite nicely," and then one of the sub-characters turns to the main one and just goes, "Permission to kill," and she's supposed to be the one which butter wouldn't melt, sort of thing. And it's just the voice acting is so well done, and it's lip synced for region. So if you pick the Japanese language, the lips actually change and everything, intonation and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'm playing it in English because the voice acting is so nice. But I've been fighting in this tournament, and you've got these two announcers, and it's almost like a boxing sort of WWF announcement. So every time you get called back from the waiting room to the area, and you run back through, and then I end up beating the tournament, thinking, "Oh, that was all right," because I wanted to save the game. And then they said, "Oh, the Don's got one more special bonus round from the depths, so he kept in the bowels of the Colosseum." And suddenly the middle opens up, and this fucking house, literally this house from something from Hill House turns up, and then it just starts launching flaming chairs at you, and I'm like, what the Christ? And they've turned this, what would have been like one of the weird unique enemies that you only have in a certain area of the game, into its own little mini boss battle. Only it's not a mini boss battle. This thing is bastard hard to fight. Has 3 phases.
You know what would be interesting?
It was awesome. I was having the time of my life trying to beat it. I was proper. It took me to a nerdy place that I've not been in years, to the point where I'm going through sort of like, yep.
Sorry. Am I correct in saying we still have no inkling when the next part of that game is out?
It's too big. It's not going to be for a few years.
It's been a couple of years now, right?
It's not going to be for a few. It came out April last year.
No. Oh, was that all? Oh,
yeah,
sorry, that does
April
feel like 2 years
and
ago now.
And that came out slightly early. It was supposed to be like...
Yeah, it was March, I'm sure of it.
Yeah, it's been a year, basically.
It came out April. So I got it April.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not going to be for a few years, the next one. I reckon 4 years. Simply because the scale of it, the environments, everything, it's fucking massive. And this thing has to grow. This is basically the easy part of the game. Yeah. Where you're based in Midgar and the surrounding areas.
The simple bit before it expands.
This was the opening part of the game. It's almost like
Did they say how many parts?
This is the pre...
Did they confirm how many parts? They did confirm it's 3, yeah.
Game. Yeah, it was a 3 disc game, so it makes sense to divvy it up the same way.
Well, it doesn't. But the way I'm kind of seeing it in my head now is it will be part 1, then part 2, and maybe part 3, but then the next generation's around, and I'm just wondering if I save the whole frickin' lot for the generation after when the whole lot's put together on one disc, because that's easy.
Maybe. But I don't know. It's just, to be honest, the 3 disc thing worked because of, they almost ended in chapters. So it was a 3 chapter game. So each chapter ended at a logical break. So this game, I know how this game ends because it's a remake. There are some story parts that have really thrown me for a loop because I'm like, where the hell are they going with this? But essentially the main story is the same. So where I know it would end is a logical break and where the first disc ends.
Gotcha.
And the next game is where you've got the open world element in which there's no way in hell that the PS4 would be able to handle. It would take one look at it, burst into flames and cry.
I've got a feeling we might see the final part on the PS6, if that's a thing.
I don't know. I don't know. I reckon they've got the engine down. It's just a bit more. I'm amazed at how much they've achieved, though, on the PS4. Considering you've got, like, you go through, there's parts of towns you go through, and each person's doing unique dialogue bits. It starts to repeat after a while, but you're passing through, and people are having conversations. And this is all on the PS4, and you're like butting through them and stuff like that, and then they're kind of talking amongst themselves, and that happens in lots of various places. So they've kind of, I don't know how they've done it, but they've been quite clever. So, you know, the use of skyboxes and stuff like that to give the inception of more depth, but they've been really clever in the way they've done it. And there's been a couple of optimization problems I've seen with like assets and stuff that have not quite loaded in, the occasional one or two. But my God, compared to the rest of it, and compared to the fact that it's making, animated movies that were their thing look crap in comparison, I'm really impressed. But anyway, I've droned on about that before. But anyway, this boss battle
it does genuinely sound good. How long do you think you spent on it?
Oh God, I don't really know.
If you don't know,
not that long. I don't think it's been that long. There has been a couple of bits where I've gone back and gone to level up because I've been wanting to level up some of the materia, which give you more skills and stuff, and they grow. So you essentially get chunks of materia, which are essentially kind of like mana rocks, and you can use like a level 1 bolt thunder and stuff like that. And the more you fight and the more you use them, they grow. And then you unlock the next level and the next level. Yeah, so I'm kind of wanting to do some of that.
Classic.
Yeah. But this boss battle made me go in and redo my entire setup like 3 times. I was thinking, what's the best strategy? What's this? Okay, and you could switch between the characters as well. So you're not just stuck as the one person and the other one's just like, doing their own thing. You can make them do that and they can do their own thing, but literally when you're swapping between the two, absolutely loving it. It's like an insane game of chess. I'm like, oh fuck, one character's being pulled into the house and is going to lose about 700 health and they've got 1500 max. So I'm really rigging up the next one to do this. It's like, shit, he's got his limit. And I'm already using summons as well, which just make my fucking jaw drop. So you've got this massive 8-9 foot tall sort of ice lady, called Shiva. All of the summons are basically the same.
Shiva, yes.
Yeah, they've been in all the games.
I'm certainly thoroughly familiar with Shiva.
Yeah,
the ice,
and it's
ice
just
summon,
awesome because she fights alongside you. And as your bar goes up, you give her commands. So you can have her attack and stuff like that with various moves. And then when their time's done, they do their summon move. And it just feels so much more like you've been grabbed by the face and pulled into these battles.
Awesome stuff.
And I realised the first time I went back in there, I'd forgotten there was a block option. So I got completely mullered and I was like, fuck, that thing is taking so much off my health. How the hell have I got... Oh shit, I can block. And then that kind of made it a lot easier. But yeah, it was still tough. But yeah, there's been some amazing battles in there so far and I'm kicking myself for not putting more into it. So I'm definitely going to be playing more, especially since I've been...
Finish it.
Wanting
Marcus.
to
Do it for
escape more. I'm doing it for me. Fuck you guys, you got your own games.
Best answer.
But anyway, yeah, that's enough of that.
Rob,
Yeah.
your turn.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you, but I'll go if you want.
No, go for it.
One thing that I definitely can't, I definitely have to mention is the fact that I've been playing a ton of online board games in these pandemic conditions with another bunch of guys who all live on their own. First of all, we were trying a few one-off games on Steam. We tried the Game of Thrones board game and a couple of others, Ticket to Ride and stuff.
Ticket to Ride I've actually heard of, so that's a start.
Yeah, I've got the real version there as well. And then we tried, we then tried Tabletop Simulator, which is also on Steam. But that's a very comprehensive experience. I'd say the thing that I find so irritating about it is that it's not trying to simulate the board game. It's trying to simulate you as a fucking person trying to play the damn thing with no appendages. So it's a bit of a nightmare. But we tried to play. The first game we played though was the Game of Thrones board game with the expansion, which in real life would take up 2 living rooms. So that wasn't really the first. And I was playing as the Ironborn, who are always fucking difficult because they start off on their own little island with no resources.
I've got to say, I have no memory of how to play that game. Simply because the last time that you, me, and John, previously of this previous parish, played that game, it was the port incident.
Yeah, I'm aware. I do remember it.
I think,
When you say
think
port
very fondly.
incident, I'm assuming it's not about the places in which the Ironborn landed.
no, this is the
The
place where
fortified wine drink.
yes,
It was-
and the
yeah.
memories it destroyed.
Let's just say that John no longer lives in that house, and for good reason.
And the people
but you
that
made
live
your
there
mark.
still wonder about that thing.
Yeah, why the sewage pipes don't work anymore. Yeah,
Oh.
so we tried Tabletop Simulator, but it's a bit much. We did play one game on there called The House on Haunted Hill.
Oh
And
yeah,
that's good. Where you run around a mansion and you like pull the tiles out as you go. The Tabletop Simulator works good on games where it's low on crap. So and you've got a lot of space and you can all sort of see what's going on. So that works because you're just pilling over the tiles to sort of explore the house. Then at a certain point, one of you gets haunted. You become some sort of monster. There's a big selection of different ones, and then you can go off and terrorise the rest of the party while they try and get rid of you. So that's that. So anyway, that was the last thing we played on Tabletop Simulator. It was still quite good. Like, if there was something on there, because the thing is, right, there's all these paid for mods, but there's also like community created stuff like mods, and a lot of them are just as good as the paid for ones.
Nice.
So, and there's various articles online that will tell you which ones to go for. But this comes in handy, even outside of the fucking lockdown. It comes in handy with some board games that are completely out of print, and cost hundreds of pounds to buy normally. If there's a conversion on there, if someone's been kind enough to do it and done a good job, and you get scripted mods as well, which basically set the whole game up for you, so you haven't got to fuck about at the beginning. You've literally just got to play it. And so that's how a lot of the Tabletopia stuff works, because that's a bit of a more premium experience where you pay like a monthly fee, but only one of you needs to have access to it. So you can rotate amongst you, which we're planning to do. I think this weekend someone might be due for doing it, actually. But yeah, we found a few games on there, and beginning with Quacks of Quedlinburg, which is like it's a game where it's like basically it's a push your luck game where you're basically trying to make potions, and each round you get to sort of like add different ingredients to your pot, which gives you different bonuses and little combos and stuff that get you moving around the track to the end quicker. And the further around the track you get, the more points you get. But it's a very quick game to play. I imagine in real life it would be more of a pain in the arse because of all the little tokens and stuff. But in the game, it's like very, very quick, and you can get a game of that done in half an hour easy.
nice.
So that was really good. And we played another game on there called Subterra, which is like you're in the ice and there's Gribblies down there and you're trying to sort of navigate around natural disasters and stuff. But all I'm saying, my big point here is that, how sort of valid the online board gaming thing is. It's something that I just kind of dismissed before because it's like, why fucking bother when you could just play a normal game? But if you've got a group of you that are used to playing board games and you was all of a sudden, for some reason you can't, whether you're separated by time and space or a natural disaster, it's still a valid thing you can do, and it works really well.
Can I add
definitely.
one to that list, please? One thing I've been doing with my family, just while you're talking about those things, and this is the most simple thing in the world. So there's a board game called Scattergrease, where basically you roll a die, there's a timer, and you have to name a number of things beginning with the letter that's rolled on the die. And it's just a really good, fun Teams game, so you can have a household on each Zoom. And I just googled Scattergrease generator, and it's swellgarfo.com/Scattergrease is the one I use, but just Google Scattergrease generator. And I'll tell you what, it's brilliant. We've done sort of family and friends nights, just having a lovely time, just playing Scattergrease, marking it between, having a laugh. It's brilliant fun. So,
what online?
Yep.
Yeah,
it's
Got through Zoom, he said. Yeah,
we do it through Zoom or Teams or WebEx. Not WebEx, fuck Cisco, they're rubbish. But you know what I mean. One person needs to share the screen so everyone can see the same card, and everyone else just can have a notepad, write it down, compare answers, and off you try. It's brilliant fun.
I mean, I think we're getting to a point where we're so deep in this lockdown now. People are just willing to give anything a go. Yeah. Like I've had nights where my sisters come
with
round.
One of my chickens. I mean, That might have been a joke.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go that far.
No.
I don't have any chickens, so
I've got chickens now, but I didn't have sex with them, to be fair.
The only chickens I have are in the fridge or the freezer.
Mine are in the polytunnel at the moment due to the avian flu restrictions, but there we go.
Or they're in a box coming from delivery.
Yeah.
No, but I've had my sister round and my mate Stu, and normally we just end up getting pissed. But I got some games out the other night, and they we had a great time. We played Dare. Do you remember Dare?
No.
Oh, vaguely.
Came out in the 80s, and it's just like you just go around a board collecting chips until you've got 12, then you can go into the middle. But it's all stuff like stand on your head, crawl around the table, pretend to be a monkey.
Yeah.
All sorts of mad shit. We played that the other night just because I was like, why not? I've had it up on the shelf there and I've not played it for 30 years. But I thought, fuck it, let's give that a go. Or it's going to be the same night again. That,
something new.
But anyway.
Back on slightly more recently invented games. I have been playing Immortals Fenyx Rising. And it's another Ubisoft open world game. And it's got a lot more of a sense of humour than the previous ones. At the end of the day, if you don't have time for an Ubisoft open world game, don't bother. I've gotten distracted from it recently. But it's not Assassin's Creed, and it's not Far Cry, and it's not this one, and it's not that one. It's its own new franchise, but it follows the formula. Go around, wander around, find things to do. But God, it's the funniest one, without a doubt, the most light-hearted one. It's got this look into Greek mythology, and it was done by some of the people on the Odyssey team, but I think they were given this carte blanche to do their own thing. It's not set in Greece, it's set in mythological, the Greek god world, whether you call it on top of Olympus or however you look at it. It's bonkers. It's narrated in many parts by Zeus and I can't remember the name of the
Poseidon.
Guy. No, it's the guy who he basically chained to a rock and had the vultures peck out his liver every day, and it grew back because of some sort of crime, whichever one that was. But between them, it's actually this fantastic, great band.
For some reason, I'm thinking Dionysus. Don't know.
You could be right, but I can't really remember. I've not paid much attention to that. But you're playing Phoenix, your user-generated, generic-ish hero, but it's puzzly, right? There's a lot more puzzle than combat. It's their attempt at the Zelda approach, and I think they've done it beautifully, because the struggle I had with Zelda is there was no story in my head, no reason to progress, but this one gives you the Ubisoft formula, the reasons to progress, the reasons to grind, the reasons to do things, and it's just a good fun game. I mean, I cancelled it for now, so I probably can't go back to it for now. It's the sort of game I'll pick up if I do it, but I've cancelled my subscription to Ubisoft, and I will reinvigorate that when Far Cry 6 comes out. But in the meantime, I'm having fun with Game Pass. But Immortals is a lovely game. It's a beautiful game. It's a funny game, and it's challenging and entertaining. And the combat's good, but not hard. And the puzzles are genuinely interesting. Worth a crack.
Prometheus was the guy who.
That's the bunny. Yeah, Zeus and Prometheus. Thank you.
So I didn't think of that, because I was thinking, was he the one that stole fire and gave it to humans?
No,
but that's a different mythology.
That's the other one. Yeah, I know the one, but yeah, he was the first thief, and I can't remember his name either, because I've never been very good at this whole mythology stuff.
No, like you say, it does sound good.
It's fun.
And I did
it's
very
fun
briefly
and it's
play
nice
a demo
and it's
of it.
easy and it's cheerful.
I very briefly played a demo of it on Stadia, actually. But that demo now is available everywhere else. But I've already got an Ubisoft open world game that I'm not even halfway through. And then I've got another one after that to play.
Yeah, I must admit, I regret actually playing a lot of these Ubisoft games day one. I will point out, right?
Yeah.
So I did Watch Dogs Legion day one, and
That's
I
the one
played
I've
through the
got
main quest.
after.
Yes, but if I'd left it 6 months whenever it comes out, I would have gotten to do the multiplayer elements, which were my favourite things about the Watch Dog games, the ability to just do that hacking game when you drop into someone else's game and annoy the hell out of them. All of the multiplayer wasn't there. Don't play Watch Dogs until that's out, right? That's the best bit. Valhalla?
Yeah.
It was okay, I did it. It was totally okay. It was probably as good as Odyssey. If I hadn't played Odyssey, I'd have loved it. But I don't know what to do.
I've just got to the point where I'm really enjoying the combat on that now. Now that I've kind of got the stats up to the point, basically I went for the thing where I could have 2 double-handed axes, one in each hand.
I never unlocked that skill, Rob, because that's not me.
No, that's totally me. I want to do the most amount of damage with
Rob
the
is
least
the axe man.
amount of... But it's great because you go up to giants and stuff and you just run up behind them, hold down the heavy attack and go, bosh! And one of them's got like fire on it and the other one's got like a big stun on it. And I'm just like having an absolute blast, like just cleaving through people.
Oh,
it's
you
amazing.
subtle assassin, you.
Bollocks to that. I'm a Viking. It's Viking Creed.
Yeah. I would say Assassin's
no-
Creed is no longer an assassin game.
It's skin of its teeth.
Apollo
basically.
Creed.
But no, I'm quite enjoying that. I read the other day that they're about to start season 1 of their DLC thing.
Christ.
So they're going to be flogging that horse for the next year at least. Because I guarantee you there ain't a new Assassin's Creed game this year.
Normally
there's gonna be no point.
it's 2 in straight orders, but yeah, they'll be reinventing. Agree.
I mean, they could do, because by rights they took the break, then they did 2 on the trot, but I'd be very surprised. I think we'd have had a leak by now if there was going to be one. And with COVID and everything, I
with
just
the delays
expect
as
that
they
to
are.
be...
Yeah, completely agree.
Which really surprises me why they just shat out all those games at once. I would have staggered that shit, like, into this shit.
Yeah, Rob, you don't have shareholders.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think it's
Who
absolute
definitely
madness.
want their money now more than they did before.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Rob.
yeah.
If you were floated on the free market, I would certainly buy shares in you. No offence, man. But only so I could short you.
So,
I'm short enough.
speaking of...
Sorry, I didn't, yeah. We're not going down the GameStop route, are we, Marcus?
No. I was going to say, speaking
No,
of games
I'm
that
not
were,
talking about that. It's not
games that
gaming.
were shut out, who's been playing Bugsnax?
Hands up
I
if
had
you've
a
been
go of
playing
it.
Bugsnax.
Well, me, because I was getting fucking pressure about it, and next will be Ratchet and Clank. But
You shouldn't
in-
give
in-
in to
in the-
peer pressure, Rob.
Who
No.
pressured you with Bugsnax?
And if people pressured you to jump off a cliff, would you do that as well?
I just kept getting shit about it from, I can't remember who, but basically, I'll tell you why I hadn't played it, right? Because I just downloaded loads of shit when I got my PS5, and because I put so much crap on there, it had actually shunted itself off of the menu.
Oh, wow.
So I forgot that it was on there. Anyway, I was having a night where, I just finished what I was doing a bit early, and I thought, I'm not ready for bed yet, so I'll just stick that on for a bit. And I lasted about 5 minutes, because it's just for children. It's like for
That's
2-year-olds.
5 minutes longer than I thought. I thought you would have fired
It's
it
got
up
no
and
graphics.
gone, no, delete.
It's got no graphics. And to be fair, I mean, it sounds like they've got some fairly interesting little systems going on there, but no, bollocks, that's not for me.
Yeah.
It's just like, it was a freebie. They just shat that into the PS Plus thing, so they could say that there was a PS5 game on it.
Talking of
Complete crap.
shatting out into PS Plus, Rob, any other shark-related games you've played?
Yeah, I also had a very brief go of Man-Eater, just because I fancied the idea of it.
Oh,
of
sorry,
being
what
a
we
shark.
should have lined it up with. Oh, here it comes. Sorry.
Watch out, boy. He'll eat you up. Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about. But
And this
yeah,
is why you
no,
played
it's-
guitar in the band.
That's right, yeah. So this is a Shark PG, and it's about as fun as that sounds, to be honest. It's a lot... the concept is a lot more fun than the execution, in my opinion, because I think because they so committed to that shark PG thing, you're basically just sort of like you're just eating trash, and you're growing, but it takes so long, and the actual combat and stuff is not that fun.
I'll tell you what was weird.
It didn't last very long.
So this morning I came downstairs and the kids are playing on their tablets. I bought them the Amazon tablet each, so Amazon can track their data instead of Jobs or the other Google guy, Bezos. Bezos gets their data instead. But my boy was playing this shark game where you're this shark and you can level up, and they have, it's a free-to-play one, and fortunately they're locked from spending money, but you can upgrade to lasers on the shark or various armour on the shark. And I'm looking at it and going, I think I know where they got where this clearly, obviously, Chinese games factory place got the idea for this shark PG that you're playing. It's like, oh God.
I don't know whether that's in that Man-Eater, or maybe that's like the Blood Dragon version they could make of it.
Oh no!
But
someone's gone, there's a shark PG out there. Let's create a shark PG as a rip-off free-to-play game, and it looks even worse. Side-scrolling 2D. Free-to-play shark game, and I don't know what it's called, and I don't need to go into it any further, but I looked at it this morning and I thought, that I know where that inspiration's come from.
Guys, can I just tell you one more thing before we go about Half-Life Alyx?
Yeah.
I'll be very brief.
Go for it.
It's funny, you didn't go into Half-Life Alyx.
You haven't mentioned Half-Life Alyx at all.
All you did is mention that you'd played it a little bit. I was fully expecting you to talk Half-Life Alyx, when you started talking about board games. Oh, right.
No. Sorry. So, yeah, I mean, it wasn't on the docket at all, but I played a bit of it last night, and it's a level called Jeff. And I sort of feel like I don't want to spoil this. Are you bothered? Or?
No, I don't own a VR rig, and I won't be playing anything like that. So, listeners,
give the listeners a little disclaimer.
Yeah, tune out now if you don't want to hear this. But basically, right, I just got to tell someone. But there's this level called Jeff, and you start it right, and you go.
Is that as in the man's name? It's like having a level called Barry, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
a strong start.
So, yeah, it's chapter 7, Jeff, and you find out why it's called Jeff fairly early on. Basically, when you get in this room, there are vodka bottles everywhere, like so many vodka bottles. It's like they painted the walls with vodka bottles, and you're like, you hear like someone on the comms go something about the vodka bottles, but you don't know what it is. But anyway, you go through, and there's a guy, and he's hanging upside down, and you shoot something to help him out, and he's like, oh, you hear this like roar, and it's like, oh, what's that? Oh, it's Jeff. And it's like, basically says, don't worry, he can't see you, but just stay out of his way. So you basically, you have to throw the bottles to kind of get Jeff, who is this horrible fucking hulking like monster thing. You have to like lure him away. But there is a mechanic, he's got these spores that come off him. And so there are spores around the level. And if you cough, that will attract him to you. So he'll come running at you and kill you.
Wow. Okay.
But there's a mechanic you simply employ by holding your hand up to your face to avoid coughing on the spores. So he can come right up to you, and he does. And there's points where you have to be like this, but it restricts what you can do. You've only got one hand left now. So you have to move and pick up things and everything with it. There are puzzles in it where like there's like a wheel that you have to get off of a very noisy spike so that you can take it somewhere else and then crank it round. Oh, and there's another bit where you have to throw the bottle into this like little garage bit and then lock the door behind him so that you can turn a crank to open a door.
And is this all hand motion type stuff? So you when you say you got to put your hand in front of your mouth, this is like the VR headset detecting that you've done it. So it's this all body motion type stuff, right?
Yeah, it's the proximity of the controller and the headset.
Oh, yeah. To be honest, I read. I think it was on the Metro Gaming, which is one of my favourite. If I'm going to look at a gaming website in the morning, the first one I go to is actually Metro Gaming. I like the journalists on there.
Yeah, I had that up earlier.
And I think it was on got a daily letters page, and someone asked about VR and saying, why is it not popular? And what they said is the only thing affecting the popularity of VR gaming is the cost.
Yeah, it's the cost and the space you need. I had the headset for about 3 years before I actually had the space to play it in. But even now, there were bits where I'm rummaging around, and I'm like, and I punched my TV yesterday. Like I was like,
yeah.
But you have to be so careful, like sometimes, and honestly, like the first time that Jeff came charging at me, I was like, ah! Literally, like I'm not like it was fully
proper
like
terrifying.
Yeah, it really is, and I don't know why I do it, and the things just jump out of bins sometimes, and I'm like, you fucking cunt.
Thing is, you only have to look on YouTube for VR fails to realise how realistic it is to some people. I think one of my favourite ones I saw recently was this bloke wearing a VR headset, clearly for the first time, and he's standing there doing this whole stance of panic, arms waving around, and someone goes, go right! And he doesn't just step right, but he dives, takes a full fucking dive to the right. I mean, and the wall is close, and it's brilliant.
Wow.
But it's this sort of stuff that makes you realise that when people can see it and feel it, basically, it's real. Virtual reality. And I'm so up for it, but I'm waiting for the next iteration, and I'm going to go in.
Yeah. I'll probably upgrade then as well. But the thing that really blew me away about Half-Life Alyx was, like, I'd got to the point where I was so tooled up. I've got all the weapons. I've upgraded them a few times. I feel like I know what I'm doing now. You know, I'm not getting scared so much. I'm able to evade. It doesn't feel awkward. And then it puts you in the position where it takes one of your arms away and you aren't using any weapons whatsoever. You're just throwing bottles around to stop this big horrible thing running at you every time you make a noise.
Brilliant.
Oh, and there's a bit in it where it all goes dark and all you've got is your flashlight and all you can hear is Jeff trying to smash his way out of this thing you've locked him up in, and you're trying to like do puzzles and stuff, and it's like, oh god, I can't cope with this. I had to take the headset off for a bit and just have a breather because he just was like going,
oh, you know what?
It was so bad.
It's that sort of thing. The early VR games, the time I first joined this podcast, or I listened to some previous episodes, and it was all about the VR, and those games sounded dry. I think VR it sounds like some of those games are really getting there now.
Oh, Half-Life Alyx is without a doubt at the same level of quality as Half-Life 2.
Yeah.
You know, it's a AAA game.
It's of its time.
Fully AAA game. And I paid AAA money for it, and I don't feel ripped off.
Yeah.
A lot of the games, you know, when Pat was on here, you know, no disrespect, but a lot of those games, they were really feeling their way around it. There was no money being invested in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was early days. Now we've got, like, you know, the Star Wars game, Flight Simulator.
Resident Evil 7 as well. It was PlayStation.
It does
but
feel,
that was terrifying.
Not Resi 7, to be honest. I don't like actually wetting myself.
I would never play that in VR. I watched like a little Let's Play of some bits in VR. There's a part where a person's playing it, and then because it's got like a weird fucked up family with like some weird Louisiana style house with like a kitchen table with maggoty food and stuff and mutated people, and there's like a super powered psychic devil girl, and there's a part where a ball bounces out of a dark room and you have to go in there and you can't see shit. And it's just like, I was sitting watching this on the sofa with like snacks going, nope. And that's for the comfort of my home, not even with a controller in my hand. And I had that horrible feeling. Let me pass
you a big bag of fuck that.
Yeah.
And that was just me sitting there. I wasn't even playing the game like on a normal screen. So in VR, God knows what that must feel like. But I love what they're doing with it. Just let it continue doing its thing. I think it'll continue to be a legitimate alternative to gaming.
Well, Valve have been like they've been so in support of it, they've released their own hardware, or at least collaborated on hardware.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if anyone's going to have a reason, if they're going to put Half-Life on something that's VR, it's going to be the fucking benchmark. And so far it has been. So
awesome.
It's got me up off my arse as well, like, fucking hell.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah.
I just want to mention two more games.
Totally done.
I just want to mention two more games. One,
Marcus,
King of
you're getting
Seas.
greedy.
King of Seas.
King of Seas, yes, we were chatting about that, weren't we?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just preliminary
preview
stuff,
time.
but interesting little game. I don't know if it's multiplayer. It seems like it isn't, so it's kind of almost, I feel as though it's taking something away from itself, because that seems like the kind of game you want to play with mates and do some co-op and sail alongside two or three other buddies.
That
Should be
releases
drop in,
tomorrow
drop out.
from the point of recording, which is obviously after this comes out.
Yeah.
Holy moly, that's come out of nowhere. So, sorry, Marcus, please carry on.
And jumping back into games which were a bit empty on their launch.
Oh no, I
and
wanted to
have
talk
since
about
been
King of
filled in.
Seas.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
well, I don't have anything. To be honest, it feels like I think we were talking about it on the sort of offline.
yeah, we were talking about
offline.
But you've started it. You can't just mention King of Seas that's coming out. Off we go. So, King of Seas is a pirate game which has this kind of
It's a
Sea of
top-down-
Thieves
top-down-
vibe, but is about. It's kind of a single player, but procedurally generated pirate game. You go out in your ship and you hunt treasure
You
and you
attack
navigate
and craft
and you
and
combat
everything and build.
and all of that stuff. But it's a single player pirate game coming out. We know very little about it, but I'm hoping I'll see some reviews soon. And if the reviews are positive, I'll be all over that shit, quite frankly. So maybe watch this space.
For me, it was like, was it Sea of Thieves crossed with the old Overwatch game? Not Overwatch, Overboard. That was it.
Yeah,
because it had the same
I had a go at
perspective,
Sea
the
of
top-down
Thieves the
style.
other day. Just the introductory bits, because it's there. Again, it's there on Game Pass, but I don't know. Just couldn't quite be bothered after having done the intro. Maybe it's fun, but I think it's not what I want.
Sea of Thieves struggled with content, so it had a massive player base when it started.
Well,
because
apparently,
you could all be on there.
It's a lot of fun now. If you want to go in as a group of people, it's an awful lot of fun.
Yeah.
From what I've heard, but we'll see. Anyway, sorry, Marcus, what was the other one?
No, that's fine.
Team
I think
17 publishing it.
That was all it, really. It was just to mention, because it's a game that none of us knew about, King of Seas, and it literally just appeared out of nowhere, like pirates often
Which
do.
sea is king, though?
To me, it's...
the Big Sea.
Yeah, the Big Sea. Or Run DMC is one of my favourites.
What about the Dead Sea? You can float in that.
No, you see, that one's dead to me.
Ugh.
Thanks for listening to the Not Playing Podcast, part of the Not Listening Podcast Network, where you can also find the Not Watching Podcast, where me and Marcus talk about movies and TV, and the Not Listening Podcast, where you can hear Adam, Ash and Will talk about all kinds of nonsensical nonsense. You can email us at notplayingpodcast@gmail.com, or you can tweet out or follow us on Twitter at notplayingpod. You can find the show notes for all our shows at notlistening.co.uk, and if you like what you've heard there, please do leave us a review. Anyway, that's all for now. Until next time, stay safe out there.
Inclined to agree 'cause I suck. You suck. I suck at Call of Duty. There's no hope for me. I suck at Call of Duty. I suck at Call of Duty. There's no hope for me. I suck at Call of Duty.
I tell you what, if we finish talking about King of Seas, I just wanted to mention one really just completely pointless fact. I found another use for this iPad.
Well done. But don't rub it on those bits or you'll have to clean it.
No, podcasting. Because quite often when I'm looking up facts and things for people when they can't remember stuff, or myself, I'm hammering around on my mechanical keyboard.
Yeah, I've got that same issue. Sorry, to give a demonstration, sorry, I just need to make sure I'm clicked away. But yes, it's when you want to quickly Google
it's
that one, isn't it?
Yeah, whereas I've just been tapping away on this, bringing up things, reading stuff all the way through this mammoth 2-hour recording, and no one's heard a peep, and it's barely made a blip on my Audacity.
Yeah,
Nice.
I've
So there
found
we
a
go.
similar thing. You're probably hearing squeaky wheels as I go quiet for a bit, as I move back a couple of metres to have a vape. But we'll see how this works out. Anyway, we're done, aren't we?
Yeah, I think
We're
we're
so
done.
done.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, I think at 1 hour and 42 minutes, we can probably
Oh, so-
call it
yeah.
there. There's,
But in my
unless anyone's got anything else.
no,
I
but
don't
I'm
know.
done
No.
recording wise.
I'm good.
Okay, right, yeah.